So Derrick Henry discussed his future yesterday after the loss, talking with the media. This was Derrick postgame when asked about the end of the season and this maybe being the end of his career as a Titan.
Yeah, definitely today. You had that feeling. We had hope of kind of slipping in there, and then being eliminated. Knowing there's three games left. I've been here my whole career. Definitely want to go out strong, which that isn't the case. But just try to give them all these last 3 games and leave it all on the field.
So the context of that, right, is important. That originally he's not answering, was this it for you?
Yes.
He's being asked about making the playoffs specifically, saying that, yeah, this was it. So the this was it is not him saying, yeah, that was it. That was my career as a Titan. But I do think that's being taken a little bit out of context, maybe. I mean, Kayla, you were in the room about specifically what he's talking about, but there is a certain element of him knowing that going out strong might have a little bit more meaning to it. I think that is fair this time around.
Yeah, and look, nobody knows the exact future of Derrick Henry and whether or not he'll be here next year. Nobody knows that, at least us as outsiders. Maybe inside, but that's not been confirmed at all. They have 3 games to go. Derrick Henry has never changed. He has always been the guy that is going to go out there, and especially after a game like that, where he played his worst game in his career, I mean, he was not happy with that. He was asked that question at the end and almost kind of got emotional about it because he's that disappointed in himself. But I think people are kind of looking at the fact this could be possibly his first or his last 3 games in a Titans uniform. And when that question was asked, I think he even thinks about, okay, yeah, it definitely could be. By no means are we saying that this is. There's still a lot that can happen. But I think at this point, Derrick Henry knows what he's got to do. You're right, Will, because whether or not he's in a Titans uniform or he's putting whatever he has on tape to go to that next team that's going to pick him up, it's important that he leaves it all out there. And that's always been Derrick Henry. Derrick's never not been a guy who's going to go out there and give it his all. That's just Derrick Henry to a T. And I think that's why it's so hard for people to realize he might not be here in this uniform next season, guys. He's had an incredible career here. But I think he is realizing it could be. Is it for sure? No, not for sure. He's going to be somewhere else. He might be back here. But I think it's time that he has to realize that, and he's being honest, I think, by saying that. That he's got to put his best out there the next 3 games, and he's going to do it because he's on this team right now and he wants to help them win 3 more games. And guess what? He said, if you don't have that mentality on this team that, yeah, we're not in the playoffs, if you don't have that mentality, though, that you want to go out and win, then you probably shouldn't be on the football field.
I'll say this on December the 18th. Yesterday confirmed what I already believed. I will be shocked if Derrick Henry is a Tennessee Titan in 2024. Shocked.
That's fair.
That game is all the evidence you need that this team is not built to make him as successful as he could be elsewhere. He knows that. I think the Titans know that. And I genuinely believe that they did not draft Tajay Spears to be a backup for more than 1 year. They drafted Tajay Spears with the intention of him being what Elijah Mitchell was when Rand Carthon was in San Francisco. I will be shocked if Derrick Henry is the running back of the Tennessee Titans in 2024.
Yep, me too.
Definitely. Well, where this team is at, you got to evolve just a little bit more. And that means figuring out with Tajay, too. It does. That means figuring out with Chig also, defensively, the young group that you have there. And it's also the style of offense that you have. I think we look at the Colts game, the creativity that was there. Carolina, there was some there. I think you see some good in what Tim Kelly's capable of doing. But when your personnel ain't right and you can't protect, and then you can't get the ball back and stop the run on the defensive side of the line too, that's a bad recipe for under 500 team.
So that being said, if we all agree that we would be surprised if Derrick Henry is back here in 2024, in the same way that you moved on from Ryan Tannehill in order to get Will Levis every opportunity he could have to succeed starting in 2024 and beyond, by giving him reps this year, do we now see the offense change and the style of play change, considering there is zero risk and the worst case scenario is you get better draft position? I'm not insinuating that Mike Vrabel and Tim Kelly and this staff would ever try to lose games. I don't think that's happening anywhere in the NFL other than with the Dolphins owner that's, been reprimanded for these things. But that being said, with zero playoff contention hanging over your head, does this finally create the change that we've been asking for in the Titans offense?
Yep, it does. And this is the other side of it, too. It's painful to go through and watch it transition. It just is.
Heck yeah, it is. Listen today.
Yeah, I know. It just is what it is. Like, we've been saying, spin the ball through the air. You don't have to run on 1st and 10. Heck, we had callers say that today. But the other pro tip behind that, too, the good teams in the season this year are, let's go, Philly, still solid. Niners, Bills, Dallas.
Ravens.
Ravens, great. Lamar's issues has been what, y'all? He ain't got no receivers to throw to. So what did they do? Whether through the draft or through some free agency and some wide receivers people didn't want, they went out and got him wide receivers. They did. Look at the 49ers, who they traded with, Christian McCaffrey. Your quarterback, honestly, is as good as the weapons around him. Mm-hmm. Period. Now is the time to go all in on whether it be draft picks and speed. That's another thing I think that was evident yesterday, too. And I know we've all said this, and we've heard so many. Speed has to become a premium for this team. Has to. The fact that nobody could catch Devin Singletary yesterday, defensively, I think that's problematic. Let's start there. But the quarterback position, too, is always going to be this. You're as good as your weapons suggest, unless you got Tom Brady and the system that they ran. And even still, there was nobody that could touch him and Gronk, plus one more wide receiver, whoever it was, whether it be Randy Moss, whether it be Hogan, whether it be Edelman, give him Gronk, Brady, and plus one more, and a crazy run game and defense. Your quarterback is as good as his weapons. Now's the time for you to go all in and try to get him as much help as we possibly can.
And I think it depends, too, on if Will Levis is out there, right? And I think he's going to be okay. We'll see next week with the injury. If he's out there on Sunday, and let's just talk about that game first, I think you have to start to just move towards what you have in the future 100%. And look, use Derrick Henry for those red zone situations. Like, use Derrick Henry for certain situations, but I think you have to really move it towards, okay, if you're going to say the future is partly with Tajay Spears here and seeing what he can do, opening it up for Will, again, according to his health, what that will be. I think why not, guys? There's 3 games left in the season. Just open it up. And guess what? We'll probably have another thing to talk about on 2 days after Christmas with this. But I just think at this point, after that, seeing Derrick have his lowest yards in a game since he's been in a Titans uniform, and again, not all his fault. It's a reality of the situation. Yeah. Got to move forward.
And as we mentioned earlier, Teron Davenport of ESPN.com had the stat from ESPN Stats and Info. Derrick Henry was first contacted at or behind the line of scrimmage on 9 of his 16 rushes. He averaged negative 0.6 yards per rush before contact, his second worst in a game with 10-plus rushes. Negative 0.9 in 2017 at Cleveland was his previous worst. That was before he was even the starting running back of the team. At this point, it's fool me once, fool me twice for Tim Kelly. You can't keep trotting out the same offense and the same running back behind the same line and expect different results. You fooled us once, and now it's shame on you. Fool me can't get fooled again if you keep doing this. Because you can't keep doing the same things, right? The offensive line can't fool you again. At this point, you are the one to blame for trusting them to make a downhill, grounded pound running back and a predictable offense be successful. Back to the phones. Pops is in Franklin up next. 615-737-1045. What's up, Pops?
Oh, Pops.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Merry Christmas.
You too.
I have the solution for the O-line. You completely overlooked it. There's one man that you can draft that will solve every bit of the problem. That'd be Santa Claus. Wait a minute. Santa Claus got a black belt. He ain't going to get beat on the line.
That's an idea. Thank you, Pops.
Right?
Fair, Pops. Merry Christmas, man, because you're right. We're a week away right now.
That's great.
I thought you were going to say Ramon Foster.
No,
Pops.
I am not the answer. I'm just here for explanations and what I've seen and know, man. But out of the playoff contention, there's still a lot to play for. Right now, there is auditioning. That's what's happening now moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
You might see players playing that you didn't think would be on the field at this point in time. But there's also going to be points where those guys that signed this offseason, too. They got to go earn it. Wow.
He's already an offseason
Arden,
guy.
of course, just Aziz Gibby. It's got to be a guy that look like what it looks like to go earn it. I mean, all across the board, there's question marks now.